Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before we get into it with our guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone, if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Megan Lacosse on the podcast. She's coming to us all the way from Duluth, her hometown, which, by the way, I have been giving praises about Duluth like the last 3 podcasts I've done, because it could be 98 degrees here and it's 65 degrees there because of the Lake Superior effect, where it's the lake effect. So I don't know, but I never go up there during the winter, everyone. If there's one piece of advice that you ever get from this podcast, never go up to Duluth in the winter. It will be negative 30 degrees and you'll get a foot and a half of snow and your car will be frozen solid, where you have to stay an extra night because you can't leave because your car is literally just frozen solid. So, but before we get into all that weather stuff, because that's just depressing for me as it is, Megan, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks, Ryan. It's been great getting to know you and your background. We met at the Twin Cities Open bodybuilding show, and man, you're just a joy to chat with. So I thought this would be a great opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always got the thing where I always have a background that I could do as an auctioneer if anything else fails. So, I have that going for me, where I just have the type of ADD where it's just nonstop going. So, hey, this is a perfect side gig for me, is to, just talk to people all the time. But I mean, what's the weather like today in Duluth? I got to ask that, even though it's probably going to depress me.
It's dark and gloomy, which is fine because it's been wonderful this entire weekend and going into the week, but I'm used to it. It's my hometown, so I'm like, well, as long as it's not freezing, there's still plenty of things to do.
That's perfect weather for me. That's like where I can go outside and do stuff without getting burnt to an absolute crisp. So I'm actually enjoying. I mean, it's sunny down here, but that is my weather where I go on my walks during the day as opposed to at night. Then that's when I get all that stuff done. But yeah, before we depress everyone with just our weather woes, because being Minnesotans, that's all we talk about, really. Why don't you just first off give us your backstory on what inspired and motivated you to become a bodybuilder and how that led to where you're at right now?
Yeah, I've always been pretty active. I didn't actually get into fitness till I was much older, until about I was maybe 27, 28 years old. I'm 31 now, and I have been seriously training with my coach, Christy, from Fit Body Fusion for the last about year and a half. I've always been in like cheerleading, dance, pageants. I love performing. I'm competitive. So once I got into college, I did collegiate cheerleading, all-star cheerleading. I realized after I graduated from college and I got into my career, I started as a kindergarten teacher. I realized that I had a love for fitness, and for some reason, the gym kind of satisfied that itch. And I still want to be competitive because I was a competitive cheerleader. And I was like, well, someone said, hey, like, do you want to try bodybuilding? This is back in 2017, 2018. This is back when, gosh, I'm trying to think of who were the big bikini girls back then. I want to say like Ashley Kaltwasser was one of the big Olympia girls. And I remember seeing a picture of her and I was like, I could do that. I could do that. Hired a personal trainer, and again, he was not a bodybuilding coach, just someone to help me get into workout routines, start learning how to lift weights. And at that time, they were like, "Yep, here's just a cookie cutter diet, and good luck. You have a show in 10 weeks. Have fun." And I did a little tiny show called Minnesota North Star. It's actually where I met my coach, who I have now, and I won. I won the overall and I won novice, and it basically got me addicted. I loved the idea of having structured routine. I loved the idea of working towards something. And yeah, not gonna lie, show day is really fun.
From meeting her, yeah, at the first show that I ever went to, yeah, I can see how fun it is, and just, I was just surprised at how I knew that like the camaraderie in the sport was huge, but like I didn't understand to the extent it was, where like everyone's like filming their friends and you're all meeting each other afterwards and congratulating each other. How important is that to you being a competitor? Is like knowing that so many of these competitors that you compete against are also your friends and you guys really do have each other's backs.
Yeah, that's the camaraderie that you're looking for. Bodybuilding it's a lonely sport. Not gonna lie. Going from working with a team in cheerleading in college to basically just your only person who needs to do the work is you. I found kind of a blissfulness in that because I was like, well, if I don't put in the work, I'm not going to win. Now, if you're working with a team, you can kind of put different roles onto different people or play up different strengths. Like if you realize that your grip strength is horrible and you can't lift heavy enough RDLs to hit your hamstrings right, that's on you. You need to work on your grip strength. I love the idea of individuality, but there's just a sense of camaraderie of knowing, like, these women that I'm with are also going through the same thing, whether it be their diet or their body image or just even, like, managing relationships. We all know, at least women who are beyond the novice. Women who are still novice, I still give them so much respect. It is so, so hard to get started in the bodybuilding lifestyle, but once you find that momentum, you feel more confident in your body. A great relationship with food, which I would love to go into, makes a world of difference in being successful in this sport.
Well, before we talk about the food, you did mention before we started recording here that there is a difference between how people view bodybuilding or how the whole bodybuilding scene is in the northern part of Minnesota than it is to the southern part. What were some of the bigger differences that you've seen? Because that's not something that I've ever touched base on in this podcast.
Really? I'm not gonna lie, Minnesota is a very fit state. I believe that people in the state of Minnesota spend more money on fitness than any other state in the country.
We
I only
always
know
finish
that.
top three in like every single demographic when it comes to fitness, and I make sure to mention that to people when I have them on too. Yeah.
Yes, and I don't know if it's just because the culture around here is just very active, but in the cities, I know there's more gyms, there's more options, there's more studios, things like that that support whatever style of exercise you like. Up north, I mean, it's a lot of woods, it's a lot of hiking, camping. I mean, not that I'm saying that we're in the middle of nowhere, but the more north you get, the more rural you get, and fitness is just not a priority, which I really do think it is. Not that I'm saying you need to have a gym. I do believe that everyone needs to have some form of exercise that makes them and their body feel good. When I'm coming up to the gym up here, I'm just like, why is there only one gym in the entire two gyms in the entire city? Um, and I do think it should be prioritized. I'm a big advocate for move your body, fuel your body to a way where you can function in a amazing way for the rest of your life, whether you're 16 or 69. Everyone should find a form of exercise that they enjoy.
Well, you brought up hiking, so I now realize that I do have to end this podcast by sharing my Duluth hiking story. So I'm going to save that for the end there. But that's a story that I've shared a couple times on this podcast, but it's a pretty crazy story. So I'll wait until the end. But I mean, nutrition, like you mentioned it, I mean, that makes up such a huge part of the results that you're going to see in anything in the health and fitness journey, not even just the sport of bodybuilding. But I mean, what were some of the bigger nutritional changes that you made when you first started to take things seriously? Because that is the one thing that shocks so many people.
Yeah, people don't understand that when you do get deeper into your fitness journey, um, food will give you progress. I was one of those people who, when I first started, I was like, I gotta eat like two rice cakes, an egg, and like iceberg lettuce for me to make my goals. Um, no, 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 no. If you want to make any kind of body composition changes, you have to eat. That's one thing I have been working on myself personally, working with my coach. My calories in my off season got so high just this last off season that I was like, I, I I can't eat this much food, and she's like, you can do it. You can eat all the food, and which sounds wild is because I got my metabolism up to a point where I was eating literally anything with 2 free meals a week, and I made phenomenal progress, shoulders, glutes, overall physique, which eventually got me higher placing in nationals. So, big advocate, eat, you guys. If you wanna make changes, you gotta eat, but you gotta eat the right stuff.
How do you stuff down those extra calories? Because there have been times for me myself when I'm trying to like stuff down that last few meal that you need to have, but your body's just telling you no. How is it just willpower, or how are you able to get those last few calories in?
Oh my gosh, it's a trial and error, man. Trial and error. Some foods are gonna sit well in your stomach, others, some foods are gonna be higher calorie than others. So if you get a chance where you notice your fats are really high, dude, just add that to everything. I got into a lot of honey. Honey is very high in carbs. My carbs got very, very high in my off season. So a lot of honey, a lot of fruit, things that are gonna be like lower volume, that you can add to almost anything. At one point, I think I started making a $1,500 100 calorie shake. So I am dairy free, but I got to a point where I could add lots of nut milks that added the calories, but also felt really good in my stomach and helped me perform. So, and I promise you, when you do find food choices that make you feel good, help you grow, you will be addicted. So I have to say, start finding those foods that are higher calorie that you can just take in easily.
Yeah, rice is a big one for me, and so is, obviously the chicken breast and everything like that. So you gotta find those because yeah, if you're eating like the low calorie stuff, that's torture right there for anyone. So that is my piece of advice too.
There's a time and place for low calorie foods. If you're in off season and you want to make changes, if you want to be more relaxed in your meals, like this last weekend, I was with my family. I wasn't tracking to every single gram like I usually do. I just sit and enjoy the moment. Try what I want to try because you know what, that's where the changes are going to make. We're only going to make changes in off season. If you're dieting 24/7, you're just going to look the same, and the judges don't want that.
Well, speaking of family, what was your friends and family's reaction when you announced them like, "Hey, I want to give bodybuilding a try"?
Well, good question. Um, I remember telling them that I was doing bodybuilding shows, and I think they thought it was more of like a pageant. And I was like, "No, like you guys don't have to go. Like it's kind of a long day. If anyone has been to a bodybuilding show, it's like
It's
from like
expensive
9
too.
a.m." Yeah, it's an all day thing. And I had my mother-in-law and my father-in-law come to my second bodybuilding show. And I didn't know they were coming, and I was like, "Oh my god, my father-in-law just saw my butt. Oh my god." So, I think they realized I'm like, "No, this is like a sport." And then they were like, "Oh, okay, like, Megan likes to eat healthy, she likes to exercise." And then I'm like, "No, guys, like, I'm serious. Like, I'm very serious about making this a lifestyle, and, the ultimate goal would be to Olympia."
I will say, like, that whole pricing really messed me up when I realized like how much it's gonna, cost to even go to these shows. So that was a big thing for me too. But also, yeah, I mean, I didn't realize also too the whole all day thing where it's like, yeah, we're gonna do the prelims for like 4 or 5 hours, and then take a couple hour break, and then come back and do the finals for like another 4 hours. So yeah, a lot of people don't understand that commitment too. But honestly, make as much time as you want because the amount of suffering that you guys go through on your preps, I mean, it should be like a week long thing, honestly, where you're on stage for that long because I've always said the most fascinating part about the sport is how little time you actually have on that stage for the amount of work that you put into that look, as opposed to every other sport that there is. So that's one of those things that makes me respect the sport even more. Is like they do all of that for that little amount of time. So it really, really makes you appreciate things.
Yeah. And I see that people, they glamorize the show day. They feel like that is the end goal. Like show day is like the ultimate epitome of your fitness journey. To be very honest, it's actually a very, very small fraction of the entire process. It's a fun day. You look all glam. You get to almost kind of feel like a princess for a little while. You're not grungy and tired and hungry. Um, but to be very honest, it's the process. If you don't fall in love with the process, then this sport will eat you up. On top of that, financially, it is so expensive to just compete locally. So take in perspective, if you are looking into trying bodybuilding, just know that you are making changes to your lifestyle, not only your body, but your mental state, your financials, your relationships. These all go together. And if you do want to be successful, all those things need to be aligned.
Well, she must be a mind reader because she read my next question perfectly. This is so much more of a mental journey than a physical journey. And I mean, for the amount of compliments that you might get from people that might not have seen you for a while and just like, oh my God, Megan, you look amazing. They don't understand that mental change, which is 100 times more important than any of the physical changes that have happened. What has this whole journey been like for you mentally?
Oh wow. Let's say I started with a coach that just basically gave me cookie cutter training and cookie cutter. It was a meal plan. Going up to it, I was good. I just like follow the plan, execute, and I won. I was happy. What I didn't understand was happening after. So this is back in what 2018. Um, Post show, um, hormone imbalances, food relationships was not a thing back then. I don't know if you've talked to bodybuilders who were very competitive back then, but I mentally did not understand when you diet that hard and that fast that you have these weird hunger cues, this weird relationship with food, and mentally it messed me up. And I talked to my sister-in-law. She's like, "You should probably go talk to a therapist," things like that. And I was like, "No, no." And she's like, "No, like this seems a little off." I'm like, "I agree." So then I took some time. Yes, I did talk to some people about working on my relationship with food. finally found my coach, Christy, through Fit Body Fusion, and she opened my doors to the thought that food is okay. Um, and food will help you than hurt you. Um, I'm still to this day still working on my relationship with food. It's really hard as a bodybuilder to go from like super, super strict diet, follow to a T, to a gram, to like, hey, like, if you want the cookie, just eat the cookie. Like, as long as I get my protein. Um, the mental side of it, I'd say if you want it, you have to work for it. Know your why. Don't just do it because you want to get fit. Don't just do it because someone told you to do it. You need to be in a mentally good spot to compete because this sport will eat you up. I've seen it many times.
Speaking of eating you up, what is your go-to cheat meal?
Oh,
I don't want you thinking
honestly,
about it too much because
ever.
I think I've accidentally put some people on like a relapse phase by getting them to talk about their cheat meals.
So lately, okay, a lot of bodybuilders are like, I need like sushi or burgers. I mean, those are good, but my thing is steak, man. Give me a good piece of steak. And I've never been like that before, but for some reason, steak just makes me feel good. My pumps are great during that week. I don't know what about steak. So I usually go for a good steak or like some like premium meat, like lamb or something, or brisket. I don't know. Just
So the nearly 400 bodybuilders I've talked to, you are honestly the first one that has answered steak as their cheat meal. So we have a first for everything on this podcast.
really.
Yeah. I appreciate
I think after,
steak is. I mean, I have no complaints about that. At least you're not one of those people that's like, oh, I'll have a salad, and then you're just like, okay, what is going on with you? Like, we need to definitely have a serious discussion here. So
yeah, there is a point you'll probably see some bodybuilders like we just crave, we crave like nutrient foods because we'll be eating like rice and fish for a couple weeks and it just gets so monotonous. And like the second we get off the stage and like we'll be like, just give me a piece of fruit, give me some pineapple or some strawberries or just something. So this last show, I think after nationals, I think, yeah, I had steak and like some roasted mushrooms and that was like so good, and a glass of wine. I definitely like a glass of wine with my steak.
I was shocked at the show that we went to that they were serving alcohol in the finals. I had never thought that was a thing before because like when you're that dieted down, you should not be having these people like just drink straight up booze afterwards. But hey, more power to them. But I also love to talk genetics on this podcast because I hear this all the time. Oh my God, I want her abs. I want his arms. I want their back. And you just want to just strangle them because you're like, you can train just as much as someone and eat just like them. You are not going to get the same results as them, unfortunately. I could do the same thing Jay Cutler does, and I'm not going to end up looking like Jay Cutler on the stage. I accepted that probably the first day I was in the gym and I realized that. But whenever someone first gets started working out, they always have that one body part that really, really takes off that they don't have to train as much. And they have that one body part that just drags behind it. They have to train to oblivion. What was one body part that took off for you, and what was one body part that you just still to this day had to like drag behind?
Oh my gosh. Wow, that's a good question. Everyone has noticed I've made some significant changes in my glutes and shoulders this last year, which is great. Um, Honestly, I'm not that I'm saying I'm a genetic freak, but I do build muscle easily, like easier than other people, especially my upper body. So there was one point during prep where we completely took out upper body day because my shoulders, my biceps, everything was just blowing up. And we want to put more focus on my glutes. So I would say my shoulders have improved significantly, but I'm also one of those genetic freaks. I'm sorry to say that when I'm in off season, I still have a six pack. So, and that was one thing I am very proud of is that I have a really strong core, and I'm really proud of my great development in my shoulders and glutes so far.
How's Breaking Camp going for you? Six pack in off season? Come on now. So you're one of those because like I've had a handful of them on where they're like, okay. So I will say everyone, she did a trap flex when we were at the show, and I was impressed. For a bikini competitor, yeah, her upper body is pretty insane. So I will give her that too. So yeah, that is awesome. I mean, for me, it was always my back because I went through college working a lot of UPS jobs, so you got a nice back, you quit, but legs. I mean, like when you met me, I'm 6'3", so like everything lower body is absolutely shot where I could train it into
Yeah.
oblivion, and it's not it's a work in progress there. But I mean, going into a prep is something that takes so much mental strength, and it just really just people, unless you've done it, you can't really understand like how difficult it is for people. What is that like when you flip that switch and you go from off season to prep? What is that change like for you? And has it gotten easier for you as you've done more and more preps, or is it still just as hard as the first one was?
Yeah, absolutely. Each prep is going to be different. Each prep is I'm learning either something mentally, physically, or emotionally. My first couple of preps, I was learning about things nutritionally. I was learning things on what works well with my body for recovery and what works well for me for training. This last prep, it was a lot of mental. And I'm still working on it. I don't know what it is about bodybuilding, but the thought of working towards a goal where you can't really see the end goal can really mess with your head. Like you don't know, like all this work you're putting into is actually going to get you to where you want to be. You just have to freaking believe in yourself and believe that you can get there. And that's a daily struggle. So mindset was probably the biggest thing I had to work on, even on show day. It's tough when you're dieted down and you're still trying to stay positive, and you're seeing these girls on stage and they just look just phenomenal. Like on a national level, these women, they are hungry for that pro card. And there is absolutely not one thing that they did not do to get there. So if I actually want to be competitive, I have to have that mindset. I have to believe in myself and I have to execute the plan and be very honest with my coach. Otherwise, I'm not going to make the progress and I'm not going to be that champion that I want to be.
This is an ever evolving sport as well, where if you were to look at what bikini competitors looked like 10 years ago as opposed to now, it is a completely different look. What have been some of the biggest changes that you've seen in the bikini division from when you first started competing to now?
Yeah, I'm noticing the muscle development is completely different. The women who are on the Olympus stage now have so much muscle to a point where they almost look like what the figure girls looked like back in 2015, 16, which is phenomenal because I'm a huge advocate for women who are taking over a man's world. So I feel like bikini has been blowing up. Now there's wellness. I love the fact that these women are just trailblazing a community of fit women um, in a men's sport. Not that I'm saying that the men aren't important in bodybuilding, but because I mean, Arnold, the men started the sport and now the women are kind
Well,
of
this
making a
podcast is
name
gonna
for
be titled
themselves.
"Megan thinks that men's bodybuilding isn't important." Basically, that's what's gonna be titled. No, I'm just kidding.
But like who doesn't love watching these beautiful
Yeah,
women who are just ripped and shredded, beautiful glutes, and they're like walking like they're angels and they're just gorgeous. Like who doesn't want to watch that? I mean, buff men, yes, that's pretty fun to watch. But these women,
I've always said it's so much harder for the women too because you have to balance the femininity with the muscles too, which is something that the men never have to do. So, have you ever found that to be something that like you just think about, where it's like I want to be as muscular as possible, but I still want to keep it feminine? Because that's a discussion that men do not have to deal with.
yeah, it's good that you mentioned that because usually in men's bodybuilding, it's like whoever's the biggest wins, usually. Whereas women, it's kind of fun to think like, okay, well, you're tan, you're posing, your makeup, your hair, your suit color, not only just your physique, it all matters in the total package, which I actually kind of like. Um, it just means that there's more up for discussion and it just makes it more competitive. Who doesn't want to compete against the best of the best?
Yeah, I've always said the female side of it, they put like 10% of a pageant in it basically, which is what it I mean, it's just a little tiny percent of it, but I think they just add that onto it. But I mean, it's still, I mean, I was super impressed seeing all the people come on because first of all, I would not even be able to get through a prep myself. So anyone, my opinion, anyone that's able to step on that stage, deserves a medal and a monument basically because it is just so
Yeah.
hard. But the one thing that I was shocked a little bit to learn about this sport was just how hard posing is. Most people in the general public do not understand that for a lot of these competitors, it's harder than the working out, it's harder than nutrition. What is your experience with posing been like?
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a bit dancing background, so I kind of think of it as dance, and I love posing. Honestly, I think it's the best part of the entire process. If you have a phenomenal physique and you cannot pose and present it professionally and in a flattering way that fits you and your personality and your style, then you're not going to win. I've seen it multiple times. Women who have incredible physiques that are just gorgeous muscle tone, and they come out and they are either not confident or their posing is off or something that really look really uncomfortable, and you're kind of like, man, like, be confident in yourself. You just worked your ass off to look like that. Act like you are the hottest thing to ever grace that stage, and the judges will know. I love the stage presence part of it. I think that should be a huge part of the judging process.
I mean, I've always said for the safety of the public, another reason why I don't compete is that I don't even know if I'd wear clothes during those last few weeks of prep. Just when I look that good, it's like I don't understand. But hey, that's again for the safety of the public, another reason why I don't compete. Out of a few of the other reasons too, but yeah, just I have seen like there was one or two competitors I saw at the show that yeah they were you could tell they were a little nervous, and it's like I don't know. I would honestly just do like a shot of vodka or something like that before I step on the stage. But I've heard some people do
I
that.
mean, some people do. Yeah, not gonna lie, I had 4 ounces of wine before mine.
Thank you. Okay, so everyone before my last guest, everyone denied that they did that stuff, and then my last guest was the first guest that was like, "Yeah, I do. Might take a shot," and then we have another one here. So yes, it's true, everyone, that sometimes people do that, and more power to you because yeah, it's even if you could be the most in shape person on the planet, it's still nerve wracking to step on stage in a bikini in front of everyone. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. And what was that moment like for you when you got to step on that stage and just show off all that hard work that you worked months upon months on? What is that feeling like for you?
Oh, it's different every time. I remember the first time I did it, I just thought, this is fun. Like, I guess I get to show off on what my work has done, and I get to do a little dance and smile and just look like I'm having fun. And since then, it's getting more and more competitive, so I get more and more nervous. But the second you have that suit on, the second you put on those shoes, you're backstage. You're usually surrounded by other positive women who are hyping each other up. It's just day of fun. If you get nervous, that's totally normal. But I've been doing this long enough where I'm like, this is where I belong, and this is my sport, and I will continue to do this until I reach my goals. And I kind of think of it as like it's almost like going home. You're just like, this is where I belong.
Does time seem to speed up or slow down when you're on stage, or is it sort of like a mixture?
Oh, I guess I want to say slow down. A lot of times I like to listen to the music and kind of pose to the music or walk with a little sass. And I wanna say it slows down because it's like, this is the moment where you get to show off, smile, look straight into the judge's eyes and be like, "This is the best I got. What do you think?"
I mean, there have been times where I've talked to some people where I could just imagine, yeah, it really is just it depends on the person, whether it feels like. And then there's also sometimes too where they have you on that stage for like 15 minutes, like doing the same poses, and then that I don't care what anyone says, that's got to feel really long. But now a question that I just recently came up with, about a dozen or so podcasts ago, but on show day, what is your favorite part about show day, and what is your least favorite part about show day?
Yeah, that in between time of after prejudging, but before finals. So you kind of got your jitters out. Prejudging is done. You get a chance to just relax, maybe have a meal or two, take some photos. Usually we do like a little photo shoot or something. Then it's finals, then it's go time. So I like that little in between time to relax. My least favorite part, oh man, that's hard. I mean, the spray tan is just it's just a lot of work. It looks great if you I do it all myself, with Protan, but holy cow, it's just a lot of high maintenance. If I could literally just put on the tan once and it'd be, like, perfect, that'd be great, but you have to do, like, multiple layers, so the tan is just a headache sometimes.
Again, I would bankrupt the tanning company, so it would take forever for me. So yeah, I understand that struggle, and that would be probably if I ever competed, that might be my least favorite thing, as well. But one thing that is not talked about as much as it should be that I love to discuss is post show blues. A lot of people do not understand that like you cannot maintain this look 24/7. You are gonna have to put on some weight and some size, and as hard as you work at maintaining a look that you have. I mean, it's not going to happen. I've had one or two genetic freaks where they try it and they might be able to maintain it for just a little bit, but it's just unfortunately not going to happen. What has it been like for you as you sort of realized that like, hey, I can work my butt off and I'm still not going to be able to maintain this look? Has it gotten easier for you to accept that as you've done more and more preps?
Yep. I just finished up my 7th show. Each time it gets better and better. To be very honest, at this point in my fitness career, I'm actually really happy to be gaining a little bit of weight back. I get more energy. I'm in a better mood. Yes, the shreds are wonderful. They, especially in the summer, like you just look really good for a couple months. But I don't get the blues because I have a new focus. I love the gym. I love training. I love training heavy. So it gives me a chance to be like, oh, sweet. Like prep is done. We're going to reverse, bring my calories up. I get to have a few free meals every now and then. But my mindset goes from I need to look a certain way for a certain time to I need to train and I need to grow. I am not going to let one day pass where I am not making a little bit more progress. Um, to be very honest, I hope to compete this next spring. And if I actually want to make big results, that's not a lot of time. That's like what, 7, 8 months up until the first national show. And of that, I'll probably prep for maybe 12 weeks, 10, 12 weeks. I don't have a lot of time. So if I actually do want to be competitive at a national level, I have to start growing now. So that means calories are up, training hard, and doing everything I need to do to get better.
How do you balance the non-bodybuilding and bodybuilding aspects of your life? Because bodybuilding, like you said, it's a lonely sport, but it takes up a lot of your time as well. And a lot of people struggle, I think, at first, sort of finding that work-life balance when it comes to just bodybuilding. And then, having a regular job too. That's another whole big thing. And then just so many little things outside of the sport. How are you able to balance that so like you don't go crazy? Because I hear some of my guest stories and I'm like, I would be in an insane asylum if I had that much stuff to do in my life.
Yep. I fortunately work at Lifetime Fitness, so I don't have to pay for a gym membership. I'm a personal trainer, so I'm constantly being surrounded by people who are inspiring me to get better. I'm helping out my clients on how to improve their health. So I'm just in general every day. I'm in a career where I'm surrounded by people who want to generally get healthier. So that's a plus. And also it's just me and my husband. So, and he likes to work out, not to a big level like I do, but he also supports an active lifestyle. And him and I, we kind of root for each other.
Was he with you pre-bodybuilding?
Oh yeah, yeah. We've known each other since we were like 16 years old, and we've been married for now 2 years.
What's his reaction been like as he's seen you transform from the girl that he knew to the woman that you are now?
He kind of he called me his like Viking woman. It's kind of yeah, it's a running joke because yeah, because I'm Norwegian, so yeah, it's so he's so supportive. Thank God. I don't think I could do this sport without having a husband who's so supportive. And it actually is really nice. Some husbands are really into bodybuilding along with their spouse. Whereas like it's kind of nice having someone in the house who's like not dieting or like not super hardcore counting every macro. He kind of brings me down to reality sometimes.
Please tell me at least once or twice he'll order a pizza just to get at you.
Oh, that's fine. I honestly, I don't ever feel envy when people are eating junk food. Honestly, I'm usually like, nah, you have the pizza. I'm fine with my chicken and rice, to be honest.
You haven't tried my uncle's pumpkin pie. That's your only problem, though. I mean, like
Oh,
you get one smell of that. Good God, that's why things. So how do you handle the holidays, especially because that to me, that's the one. There's Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day, and 4th of July are the 3 days where I purposely just let myself go. But how do you deal with the holidays?
again, I've been doing this for so long. I count macros, and I if it fits my macros well, then I'll taste it, or I'll take a serving of it. Honestly, I think all food is gonna fit. If I want the pie, I'll eat the pie. I just know that it's going to affect my training or it's going to affect my blood glucose levels. I just know how it's gonna make me feel. So if I want it, I'll have it. I'll just make sure I track it and I still hit my macros for the day.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the bodybuilding mindset right there, everyone. It's hard to really phase them when it comes to a lot of things food wise when they've been through all that. But let's also be completely honest. I mean, you're not the average looking woman. If you were to walk out in public, I mean, dressed the way you are right now, you are going to get stares a little bit just because it's human nature when they see something that's not of the normal to just be like, oh wow, that's fascinating. What has that been like for you as you've gotten more and more into the sport? Is it easier now for you to accept the fact that like I am going to draw more people's attention, or is it still one of those things where you're just like, hey, this is kind of weird how much I like get from other people?
Well, I've noticed in my off seasons, people walk to me like, "Oh, you do figure?" And I'm like, "No, I'm bikini." They're like, "Well, you have too much muscle. Like, you need to switch." And I'm like, "So you have no idea what bikini girls look like in off season." Again, this is an extreme sport. I want to grow my glutes. I want to grow my shoulders. Like, it's gonna look odd to anyone else, but this is my life and my lifestyle, and my body feels great and it's making amazing progress and I have been very healthy. My blood work has been great. And I'm going to keep going until I can. I mean, we can't do this forever. I'm 31, they'll be 32 and honestly, I want to get to Olympia someday and if I want to do that, I got to take care of myself now and to be honest, I don't really care what anyone.
Hey, I've talked to 3 people in their 70s doing this, so I mean, you can do it for a long time, and a lot of people. I mean, that's the good thing about the sport is that you can really honestly start at any age. But please tell me you've used my time favorite response of if they ask if you work out, you say no, I've never touched a weight in my life. What are you talking about?
Oh, you know what? I got one from the other day. I said that I am a professional mini golfer. And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a professional mini golfer.
Yeah,
That's
just
why I'm so fit."
these shoulders from swinging that putter, baby. That's what you just gotta tell them. So yeah, I've always used that excuse, and I enjoy that. But the one thing about this lifestyle and the health and fitness lifestyle that I hate more than life itself is cardio. Just saying that brings a little bit of a shiver down my spine. And when I say cardio, I mean actual running. Like I live next to Bush Lake, so I go on a lot of walks. So, I mean, I'll probably be doing that tonight. I do that nightly. Walks are fine with me, but I've always made the joke to friends like you're gonna have to chase me with a knife if you want to ever see me run. What is your relationship like with cardio? Because when you become a bodybuilder, unfortunately, you sort of have to sign a deal with the devil when it comes to cardio.
To be honest, I don't mind it. It I don't mind it. It's good for your cardiovascular endurance, to be honest. I had no cardio this last prep no, last year. This year I had, like, 15 minutes, 3 days a week. So actually it wasn't that bad. It by peak week, it was higher, but I never got past 35 minutes. I'm very fortunate that I do not struggle to drop body fat. I don't know if it's just my genes or something, but first prep with my coach, I had zero cardio and I was shredded. This next prep, we did a little bit of cardio just to keep up with my metabolism and everything and keeping my calories high. So honestly, I think it feels nice. You just scroll podcasts, DD on the spot. Not bad. And it's good for your heart, guys. Do your cardio.
I gotta listen to comedy podcasts. That's the only ones I can listen to and walking. It's gotta make me laugh or gotta like make me smile a little bit, so it distracts me from the hellhole that is going on extended. And like I said, walks fine, and I got a wedding to go to in 2 weeks, so you got to lose that at last 5 pounds. In the last 2 weeks from doing a little bit more steps there, as well. But sleep is the most important thing when it comes to just your general life in general. But in health and fitness and bodybuilding, it is so important. And a lot of people just don't understand that you guys sometimes get to that certain leanness where you're so lean that it's hard to sleep, which is something that really it's hard to explain. Like you're just at that lean point where you just can't function and fall asleep as well. What does your sleep schedule look like, or how do you try to maintain a somewhat decent sleep schedule? Because it is so hard to maintain that, especially as you get leaner for a show. But even in this lifestyle in general, sleep is just so much more valuable.
Yeah, my coach has been trying to figure out a better way for me to work on my recovery. As of right now, it could be I don't really like massages and things like that or like saunas. So she's like, we need to improve your recovery. And she's like, what do you do for recovery? And I was like, sleep. I'm not lying, you guys. I sleep like 10, 11, 12 hours and I'm great. Like I have no problem sleeping. It's one of the things I'm very good at. Someone could literally just be like, "Oh, just put a blanket down, let Megan take a nap. I'll be out." I have no problem sleeping. Even during prep, I'm like, "Meh, fine." Other than waking up to go potty. That's it.
So she has abs during off season and she sleeps like as you can tell,
Yeah.
like I've said before, I have the ADD where my nap is me just lying down and closing my eyes and not falling asleep for like half an hour. And that,
Ugh.
it regenerates me a little bit. I've probably taken a dozen naps in my entire life at 28 years old. So the one thing I will say though that I appreciate about not napping so much is that naps are the most confusing thing of all time when you wake up and you're just like, what year am I in? Like how, and then you look and like you've only been asleep for like an hour and a half, but it feels like you've slept like a whole week basically, and you're just like, what's going on here? So the handful of times I've experienced that, it's about, like once every 2 years I'll be able to take a nap. But yeah, everyone, yeah, get that proper amount of sleep because I've always said, if you get that proper amount, you wake up feeling like a superhero. I mean, there's rarely any better feelings in the world than when you wake up with, especially after a long hard workout and you wake up with that proper amount of sleep and you're just, so well rested. But a question that I love to ask all the personal trainers that I have, because this is something that really, disturbs me a little bit deeply, is going out in public and I see how just out of shape our country has gotten, especially recently in the last few years. But what is some of the biggest obstacles that you deal with as a personal trainer when it comes to getting people to accomplish their goals?
I'm noticing as personal trainer, everyone thinks that fitness is a novelty. They have to have a certain level of fitness, or they have to have a, s- a special amount of time. They think that they have to spend every single day in the gym to get to where they need to be. Not at all. I think that it is a lack of education, um, and a lack of um, availability. As a personal trainer, I'm starting to realize that our community feels that fitness needs to be something that has to suck, or it has to be something where, like, oh, I have to lift like Megan for me to be fit. No, not necessarily. If you like going for walks with your baby, or if you like doing Pilates, if you like going hiking, if you like biking, like something to get your body moving, is going to make a world's difference than feeling like you need to suffer yourself on a treadmill somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, so many people also, the biggest problem that I see too is that a lot of people just go full in Rambo, and then they go and they work out for like 3 hours a day for like a week, and then they're just like, yeah, this is not sustainable. Take baby steps. You don't have to be an Olympic power lifter, the first
Mhm.
time you step into a gym, which is a lot of people. And also, this the thing that especially happens with a lot of women I talk to, where they get, a little self-conscious about, like, oh, I don't want to, get so bulky and get so big. And I got to ask you that question now, because that's my favorite myth
Mhm.
to bust, because I hear this all the time. Like, oh my God, I want to get in shape, but I just want to get toned. And first of all, tone needs to be erased from the English language. I just,
Yeah.
ugh. But how do you deal with that as a personal trainer when you hear that? Because I still bet if you had a dime for every time you heard that, because that is something that unfortunately still a lot of people believe.
Yep. Women, I feel like in this day and era, I'm so happy that having a muscular, athletic look is very popular. Thank goodness, because I remember back in the early 2000s, it was rail thin. That was the beautiful thing. But whenever a woman comes to me and she's like, "Hey, Megan, I love your look. You're very motivating. I want you to be a personal trainer. I want to look like you, but I don't want to get bulky." My first thing I usually say is like, "Hey, what you're thinking of is actually an excess amount of calories on top of building muscle. Yes, you are going to build up mass if you have more calories, and on top of that building more mass. Therefore, you're getting bigger and or bulky." If a woman comes to me and says, I just want to get toned. That is an indicator to me like, "Oh, okay, so you want to have a little bit of muscle tone, but also have very little body fat to show it off. Is that right?" Yes. Okay, that's totally fine. That just means that we need to drop body fat and maintain muscle and or keep building it as we're doing our fitness routines. It depends on your genetics, of course, and how quick you want to see results, but it is possible for a woman to find an exercise routine. I'm a big advocate for, if you want to make changes and you want to make changes without wasting your time, hire a coach.
Yeah. That is the number one piece of advice that I always give everyone. Hire a coach. They make it so much easier on you. It takes off a lot of the stress and a lot of the pressure. So yeah, do that as well. What is your favorite part about being a personal trainer?
Oh, I've actually only been training for only a couple of years now. I started working as a gym manager right before quarantine, all the shutdowns, and I realized that I like the community that the fitness world brings. I like being surrounded by people who are like-minded, who want to better themselves both mentally and physically. And what a better workplace to be in than people who just want to be better every single day. And usually people in fitness, they're very positive, and I'm also an advocate. I mean, good to have positivity in your life. And yes, like I love seeing clients make changes to their body, also help getting their families healthier. But ultimately, it's the community part of it. That's definitely what helps me get up in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about before with how supportive people are. I mean, that is one of the biggest reasons why some of the guests that I've had on still compete in the sport, is just because of that community aspect and that help that they get as well. But this is something that I think to myself every single time I have a bodybuilder on the podcast, regardless of how many guests I've had on before. It's just human nature in me to think this. Why do they do this to themselves? Why do they put themselves through this? I hear all these prep brain stories and I hear all these other stories, and I'm just like, I mean, obviously I know why they do it because I've talked to so many of them, but even like the human part of me is just like, why? And you can say you don't, but I will call you a liar if you tell me that there aren't times in your prep too where you're like, why am I doing this to myself? What is the end game? You're like, why am I putting myself through this? So, and I bet, like you have friends and family that still just joke to you about that. They might just even say to you like, Megan, why do you put yourself through this? What's your why? How do you like to respond to that?
How? I I don't want to. My why is, well, I want to become a professional bodybuilder. I feel that I want to become a professional in something that gives purpose. Yes, bodybuilding, there's really no money in there unless you're like a successful coach. Like I'm not getting paid to do
You
competitions.
have to be top 3 at the Olympia to like break even, basically. Yeah.
Yes, and even then, it's not even that much money. So, to be very honest, my why is usually just I just don't want to stay the same for the rest of my life. I don't want to feel like I'm going nowhere. I want to either excel as a bodybuilder and use those skills into my own coaching, possibly become a bodybuilding coach someday, or just make a name for myself, heal my relationship with food, with alcoholism. I want to be an example to my family that I did not fall to alcoholism, and I made it a goal, and I saw through it and followed through.
Do you have a weapon with you to kill that crow or something like that in the back?
Can you hear him?
Oh my
Oh,
god, that damn crow! Yeah, everyone that'll be known as the crow from now on. Now, hey, another part of my editing that'll work. Hey, no worries at all. That crow, I've never heard a crow bark that much in a row.
yeah.
But hey, everyone, there's a first for everything. Yeah, I mean, getting through that journey, people's whys, I mean, they're the most inspiring part of this podcast for me, talking to people and just realizing that, like everyone has a why, and it's always something that has to deal with, just overcoming something, or just bettering yourself too. Cause there's something, that's the one thing that I've always found that's the funniest thing for me, is that in this culture that we have, you can be, like 500 pounds, and then you could be someone that looks like you. And if you were to make fun of someone who was the 500 pounds, society would rip you apart. Whereas if you were to make fun of Megan for being too musky or something like that, no one would say a word. They just be like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
that's the one thing I think needs to change too. Where it's like, obviously you should get ripped on for making fun of either one of them, but it's like that's something that I think needs to be worked on as well. But now we go to my two end all be all end all questions that I like to wrap things up for before I tell her my Duluth hiking story. If someone were to walk up to you and say, Megan, we made a decision, you can change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you'd like to see changed?
Oh, wow. Oh, that's a good one. Wow, wow, wow. There's so I'm immediately so many things are going through my mind. First of all, do not book a hotel host room that has no microwave for your competitors. I've done enough shows now in hotel rooms. I'm like, let let us have a microwave in the hotel room. It is so important. You've got a bunch of hungry, skinny bikini girls, competitors need a microwave. So, I that'd be one maybe. And then, yeah, I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, for me, honestly, obviously, the thing for me is like, if you are a pro in the sport, you should be given like a little stipend of money so that you don't have to like there should be some financial support to you, because like you said, people are losing money doing this sport, which is why when I first got into this like lifestyle, I thought that this might have been like the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time, where it's like, wait, you're making these people pay for all this stuff that they do then when they compete. I was like, this guy's making, but no, it's like, yeah, that's one thing that I would do too, is like make it so that this is more affordable and that people can actually, not saying that they can just be bodybuilders full time, but like make it so that it's easier for them. It eases some of the financial stress that bodybuilding causes a lot of people. And don't even get me started on judges too, where you could compete in shows in back to back weekends, and one weekend they might, you could have the same lineup and you could place differently in other weekends. It's like if they just had a general, like, this is exactly what we're looking for, and this is like, try to your best to look like this. I think that would help a lot, because so many people just, they look at that, the whole judging aspect, and a lot of people just don't do shows because they know the judges are there, when it's like you should be feeling comfortable to do whatever show you want to do. So
Yeah, and, like, that's the difference between local shows, national shows, amateur to pro. You're gonna have different judges, you're gonna have different levels, even from NPC compared to natural, the judging is gonna be completely different. You really have to just pick and choose what's gonna be best for you and your goals. That's why I do NPC. I wanna compete against the best of the best, and I wanna get as far as I can. Again, this is a business. I totally get it. Yes, I wish it was more affordable, um, but then again, like, these promoters, a lot of times, like, they're they're paying for out of their pocket to put on these beautiful shows. Um, and I get it. It's a business, and to be honest, I do wish it was a little cheaper, but even then, that's not the world we live in right now. And you're just gonna have to prioritize what's important to you.
Yeah, as I have to budget driving up to Alexandria for a wedding. So, yeah, that's, I mean, unfortunately, that's the world that we live in right now. But Megan, I'd love to have you on in a year just to give us an update on what you've been up to since then. What are some goals that you'd like to have achieved? And yeah, where would you like to be at a year from today when we have you back on?
Oh my gosh. Well, my goal is to become pro. I would like to compete at a pro level. Hopefully, I'd like to stand next to my coach one day. I really look up to her, Christine Sandy, and I'd like to be at a competitive level as a pro. From there, I mean, the ultimate goal is to be accepted into Olympia. I would love to go to the Arnold in the expos and really meet the big names in the bodybuilding industry and make a name for myself. And hopefully someday I will be, and maybe you'll see Megan Lacosse on the roster at the next Arnold show.
That will be great. And I honestly think, yeah, you do have a bright future in this sport too. And yeah, I'd love to see where you're at in a year. So, all right, everyone, the moment of truth. So I promised the Duluth hiking story again, but okay, so it was 2016 or 17. I'm not sure. It might have been even 15. It was one of those. I was like 21 through 20. I don't remember exactly. I was going up to visit a friend at UMD. This was during the summertime because they were they were from Bloomington, but they were staying up there for the summer to do some classes. So I went up there and they had they were doing summer school, so they were gone for the day. So I went up there on a Thursday, and then it was Friday, and so they were in class all day. So I thought, like, hey, what am I gonna do? I don't really know their roommates too well. I got the whole day to myself, so I was like, oh yeah, I'll go on a hike because Duluth it's got great hiking trails. So I decided to do that. Didn't bring a thing of water with me, which is the first mistake that I made. So I get there, it's probably like noon or something like that, and I start walking. It's about 3 o'clock, and I'm getting very thirsty, and I'm lost. Don't know where I am. Finally, I see some houses going by, so to replenish myself, I would go to houses and drink their hose water. Basically, then that was how thirsty I was. But it got to a certain point where it is like 7 o'clock, and I've been calling my friend all day, and they are still like they just got out of class, and my phone was like just about to die, and I finally got on the highway. I was trying to flag down a ride because this is how tired I was. Like I was near, like I was just pale white. Finally, with the last few minutes of battery left, I called 911, and then I was like, okay, I'm about to die here. I'm about to pass out. So they got a fire truck to come to me, and the firemen, they gave me about 5 Gatorades that I had in a span of like 15 minutes because they were like, dude, you should probably go to the hospital. Like you are pretty, like I was pale white, like just. And so, yeah. And then the funny thing was, from where I called them, I didn't know this, but I was literally a block away from where my car was parked. So, oh my God, because they're like driving me and they're like, do you need to go anywhere? And I was like, my car should be around here somewhere. So then they started driving. I was like, you guys, you're going to think this is funny, but like my car is right there. So then they dropped me. And then that night was probably the only Friday that I've ever spent in Duluth where I didn't go out and party because I was literally just like recuperating on his couch, drinking Gatorade and watching movies with them that night. But I forgot the craziest part that people, you don't have to believe this, but I know it truly happened. So, like they have those rock walls up
Yeah,
top where it's just rocks and there's like 30, one of them was like 30 feet tall.
yeah.
So I saw houses down below, and this is like at 6:30. So this is when I was already like about to, like I was just super pale and everything. And I said, like, if I don't get down there, I'm probably gonna die up here because like I'm running out of battery and they might not find me in time. I scaled down that 30-foot rock wall, and I slid probably about the last 10 feet. I slid on my side. I somehow didn't break anything, had no damages or anything like that. I landed a bunch of twigs and everything like that, and I got up, and then I realized that my legs were like all cut up the next day. But yeah, that was the one part where I was like, okay, if I die doing this, it'll be pretty badass though. They'll be like, he died scaling a rock wall by himself. So we're trying to scale down a rock wall. So at least there's that. But like, so very interesting times. I can say the other 3 times that I went up there after that, yeah, I did not go hiking, and probably for good reason, everyone. So if we're gonna take any moral of the story from this or anyone, if you're gonna go hiking, first of all, have at least a map, maybe of the area, or have somewhat of a general idea of where you're at, and bring a lot of water. So now when I go on my walks at night, I bring like a gallon of water with me, which is good to last me if I even sometimes extend it to like a 2 hour just little walk. I still have enough. So everyone learn from my mistake, and Duluth is a great place, but I still have that memory whenever people talk about Duluth. So it is good. And I was calling a friend too, another one of my friends. She was in class that whole day, and I was like, "Hey, can you?" I was like, "Honestly, I'm about to die here. Just get out of your. I don't care what your excuse. Get out of class and come pick me up." And she's like, "No, I'm sorry, I gotta stay in class." So I was like, okay, you know what? Like I was getting like that. So I was like, okay, you kind of know where your friends are then if you're near death and they start like, hey, I gotta stay in class though. And it's like, ditch that class. I don't care. I'm about to die here. So there's that whole aspect of the story too that I still give her crap to this day. I was like, well, if I'm ever in a near death situation, I'm never gonna call you. And so yeah, there's that. But yeah.
Think of this: people who are from the north, we're tough. We're tough people. Like we can handle the cold, and we don't keep track of our trails. Apparently, they're just really horrible trails.
No, it's not horrible trails. It's just that like I'm one of those people where when I find a trail, like I will go into like like I'll go to a spot that's like maybe not marked, but it's like a little tiny opening way for you. Like even in Eden Prairie, I'll do that all the time too. Like I
Good.
walk mainly through Eden Prairie a lot, and I've gotten not lost, but like I sometimes so I live right by Bush Lake, and I've walked all the way to the EP Mall and back, and that's that's pretty far to walk, but yeah,
Yeah.
so there's that whole thing. So yeah, everyone, that is my Duluth hiking story. I've never told it to that full of an extent. I've just alluded to it, but I had to wait till I had a guest on from Duluth so I could really tell that. But again, Megan, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your journey with us. And lastly, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
Oh, yeah. My husband Jack. I hope he gets a chance to listen to this. He's been a huge motivator of mine, and yeah, my coach Christy, also a big motivator of mine, and someone who I really look up to. And my teammates in Fit Body Fusion as well, who I also feel like we all have great bonding with each other. So I hope they get a chance to listen.
Absolutely. And again, everyone, I'll leave a link down below to her Instagram page down below. And, buyer beware, you will get inspired to get off that couch and stop eating all those Twinkies and, get in shape. But again, Megan, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your journey. It was an absolute delight meeting you. And I look forward to talking to you again in the future. And wait, so are you going to that show that they have in October at the,
Yeah,
so I'll be there then too. So I'll see you guys there then too again, because
perfect. I'll see you then. I
I,
have some teammates meeting.
yeah, because one of my guests like runs that show. Kathy Kemper I had her on, so then
Yeah.
she does that. So then she told me about that. I was like, well, I'll probably go to that one too. So I'll see you then there. But again, everyone, go and check her out. And Megan, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, Ryan.
All right, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.